What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to look at exactly how the New Horizon patch changed Fortress the mod. This is of course a very much discussed topic and look to be a nerf for AP characters across the board. So we will unpack some of the figures between pre-nerf and post-nerf and see how it's affected it. And more specifically, we'll just look at what else was added with this patch to kind of help you in terms of dealing the same, if not more, damage with your anomaly-based characters. However, if you enjoy this video or find it useful in any way, please do consider giving a like and subbing to the channel, maybe sharing the video with a buddy. It really does help the channel grow a lot and it just means a whole lot to me. But without any further ado, let's jump right in. Now, for the sake of these tests and for this video, I'm using what I refer to as my cookie cutter Akari build, which we'll quickly go through here with each one of the mods and everything that are installed, as well as just quickly review how Fortress the mod has changed. One thing to bear in mind though, of course, is that I am using transmog on this gear now, so don't let the portraits themselves fool you into which items they are. If you look at the top of each item, you'll know actually what it is. Like in the case of here, this is in actual fact a death shield, but as we move through the items, it'll make more sense. I just don't want that to cause any confusion. But first and foremost, of course, we have a death shield, and this has Fortress and Shadow Combat on. This is my standard, my go-to when I play the Akari set pyromancer. And here we can see that the Fortress mod has gone from a flat damage increase based on how much armor you were stacking to the version that we have now that says that shots increase your current armor and resistance by 5%. This stacks up to 3 times. Now at maximum stacks, the buff is doubled and then additionally grants 30% damage increase for 10 seconds. And what's very important here is that originally when they showed this buff to us, or this change rather, the idea was that this cooldown was 1 second, and this caused a lot of concern for people because certain weapon types would be a lot, easier to proc this damage mod than others. And 1 second just seemed extremely cumbersome because of the fact of how long it would take to actually activate the buff. Now it's down to 0.2 seconds, which is a massive increase in speed to you ramping up so that you can get this buff. But we do, however, have to remember that there is overall a difference to the amount of additional damage that you can get from Fortress. The maximum you can get here is 30%. That's it. It's 30% or nothing. Whereas Fortress used to work that it would scale with your armor, but again, the maximum that you could get from Fortress was just over 40%, something like 43%. And most players had no problem with getting that 43% because just by having normal standard, CT 15 level 50 gear, you could easily get up to that armor cap that you needed to get the maximum benefit from it. So using a death shield here, now my secondary and my pistol don't make any difference because I'm not actually going to be using them in this weapon damage comparison, but nonetheless, let's quickly just scoot by them. So they will of course have moaning winds and clip combustion and more Fortress on and everything like that. When we get to the actual gear, you'll see that I have a purple headpiece on that is using anomaly power, cooldown reduction, and status power. This is the basic building blocks of an Akari build Ash Blast overheat combo character, so this shouldn't come as any surprise. And right now in the top corner you'll also see a link to this build in some of my previous videos. It was very important to me to have a apples to apples conversion, so the build that I'm using here today is the same one that I've always been using whenever I record any of my Ash Blast overheat material, and therefore the mods haven't changed either. So of course I have a purple piece here that's got Tidal Wave and Ashen Boost on them. Then if I move over to the chest, this is the first piece of actual Akari gear. I'm really struggling to hit the fucking slider here. Wow. So when I move over to the first Akari piece here, this is of course the chest, and this has Detonator and Captain Hunter on it. And then we move over to legs. Yo, dude, I really have to work on the accuracy of those clicks. Then I have Anomaly Echo and Fire Tsunami on here. Then when we move over to the second piece of purple gear here, we have Ash Increase Range and Death Sentence. Again, none of these are out of the ordinary mods that you wouldn't be putting in this kind of build, which is why I refer to it as a cookie cutter one. Sure, some other players, will probably maybe swap 1 or 2 mods out because maybe they can't get it exactly the way that I have here. But this is definitely, I would say, the strongest, and this was also the configuration that was used to speed farm the game and to set world records with. So yeah, and then lastly we're going over to the boots, and this has master, consumer, and burnt out on it. So nothing new out of the ordinary there. If we do look at the skills here, it's of course heat wave, ash blast, and overheat, because that's the standard build-out. And then last but not least, I use bottom tree. There are versions of this build that go top tree because it makes a much more powerful ash blast, sure, but for the sake again of this and for the comparison, I'm using bottom tree, which gives you a lot more anomaly power. And this is actually going to be important later on when we talk about the differences that they made additionally to Fortress in the patch as well. So what comes up now is just a couple of stills of me doing Boomtown, and essentially, you know, doing a Boomtown start and coming out and showing, you know, the kind of damage levels that we get, the values that we get. So I will be pausing in between each of these, and I have pre-nerf and post-nerf, and we're basically going to see how the damage compares. Now, one last thing I want to mention as we go through this is that it is relatively difficult for me to exactly emulate one run to the other one, because we have to remember things like the damage buff that you get from Anomaly Echo, the damage buff that you get from Burnt Out, depending on how many things you hit with a heat wave. So there's a couple of, you know, random elements in here. I tried to emulate it as much as I could, and even you'll see in both cases I managed to get the barrel to hit me and set me on fire, which is of course a very the full measure thing to do. So in any case, but okay, so if we go in here, you'll see I did slow down the footage a little bit. So this is pre-nerf, so this was just a flat Fortress damage increase. So I'm just running here, I'm actually trying to hit some shots so I get a Shadow Comet, but in the end I don't. So I just shoot out my 2 waves, I do my Ash Blast, and I complete with an overheat. And that's the combo. Now let me pause here quickly. You'll see that mostly, and actually slightly a little bit, you'll see that we're looking at damage values of about 1 million hitting most things. And then things that were hit by the heat wave are actually taking more damage because of Burnt Out, and so therefore you'll see like almost a 1.9 million over there. So then I think I record just up here and I just run past these chests. So then we'll do the next one. This is now of course post nerf. So what needs to happen here is I need to fire my gun so that I can proc the effect from Fortress, so that I can gain that additional 30% damage. But I want you to notice something very interesting. In this footage that I'm going to show you now, I don't actually proc it. I miss one shot, or I don't fire enough shots is what I'm trying to say. And so the damage that you're going to see here now is not actually going to contain the 30% damage buff that I should be getting from Fortress. And it's quite easy to see whether you have that buff active or not, because your right arm on your character will have this green hue over it, and you'll see it later on in the video as well. So let me show you what I mean. So here we go, I'm running in. Now I know that I need to shoot so that I can activate this, so I put some shots into this guy here. I get a Shadow Comet to drop. I don't shoot enough though, so you'll notice I don't have the buff. But yet I get set on by the barrels. As I said, I start pushing out the waves. I complete the Ash Blast and I hit the overheat. Now as soon as I hit the overheat, again, I'm pausing here. You'll see that in terms of damage values, and I think this shows us enough. In terms of damage values, it's not hitting, for instance, for 1 million, it's only hitting 860, but here I'm hitting for 1.6 million, where in the other place I was only hitting for, I was hitting for 1.8. So yes, there definitely is some less damage here, but bear in mind what I said. I don't actually have the Fortress buff active. Now, for the sake of comparison, what I did is I included another piece of footage. Again, now this is post nerf, but this actually shows a much clearer way of me activating the buff and then getting the additional damage. But something interesting also happens with that. So I run up here, I get the shots in, 1 2 3 4. Now you'll see the buff is on. Did you notice the green? My first wave goes out, my second wave goes out, and then as soon as that's complete, I complete the combo and I hit it. Now what happens here is we don't actually get damage registers on these. I've tried to pull this footage apart as much as I could, but we don't actually get damage registers on them. Just everything flat out dies, which is obviously you're doing more than enough damage to kill them. But the one piece of damage that we do see coming through here is 1.1 million, and this would usually be the ones where it was doing 1 million or 890. So just a huge amount of damage that this pushes out. It levels everything here. There's not a single thing that's left alive. And another way that we can actually show this is the very famous, coming down into the room right before you fight Dr. Boom. So if this is the standard clear with Akari that you do. So you run up to it. This is of course old fortress. So I hit one flame wave so that I get the burnt out proc, right? And then I simply activate the combo, which is, you know, Ash Blast Overheat, and it wipes out the entire room. You'll see it. There goes the overheat. Everything's dead behind me. You can see it on the radar. Now, this is, of course, post nerf. So this is new fortress. So here I was going like, okay, let me see if I can just run in without letting them scatter too much and see if I can activate the fortress with enough shots, or otherwise I'm just going to shoot out a wave and I'm going to try and emulate what I did with the other one. So same thing, right? Moving forward. Shoot. Again, not enough shots to activate because there's no green, but I hit him with the one wave so that I get the burnt out buff, and I activate Ash Blast and I hit him with the overheat, and it's a full clear. So overall, and this is something that I've been saying on the streams that I've been doing with the game as well. Speaking of streams, come and join us tonight for another Outriders stream. It'll be lovely to have you. But this is something that I've been saying that, at least for me, and with the extensive testing that I've been doing with the pyromancer, I've yet to start bridging out to the other characters. But the testing that I've been doing with the pyromancer, I don't only feel that I have no power loss, I actually feel more powerful in certain cases. Yes, you have to play different. You have to now actually use your gun to proc the ability. But what you also have to bear in mind is the additional damage mitigation that comes from this buff now. So it's not just that we're seeking this damage buff that comes from Fortress now, but remember that with each one of those stacks that you put on, you stack additional damage mitigation as well, which is fantastic. And in some cases, you can build the pyro incredibly glass cannony, and that helps a lot with that kind of situation, especially with the new expeditions that are far more difficult than the old ones and have much more mob density as well. So one last thing I wanted to show, because I'm still not done yet, is just on here I'm showing that we have on the left side a skill tree of a technomancer, and that's pre-nerf. So I'm saying pre-nerf fortress, but this is I suppose also what I want to mean is this is pre-patch, so pre-new horizon. And then of course on the right side we have post-nerf, and that's, in other words, after New Horizon came out. Now something that People Can Fly have mentioned is that they also went and revisited the skill trees to actually buff up the individual nodes, and you can see it here very clearly. Hopefully I didn't scan over that. So if I just go in here, you'll notice on the left this one is worth 6% anomaly power. However, after the patch, this has been changed to 10% anomaly power. Now, this is how you're able to actually bridge the gap of what you would have gotten between 30% in Fortress as it stands now and the 43 that you would have gotten before the patch. So this change here, and guys, I know I'm showing a Technomancer, but this is true for the Pyromancer, true for the Devastator, everything. Any anomaly nodes, as well as other nodes, have been upped in damage, and this is why People Can Fly made the statement and said your characters will actually feel beefier now. They will feel stronger now without you changing a thing, and that's because they've actually gone and upped a lot of the values on these skill trees. So just by default, you're getting some additional power. That's how I can say that my character actually feels more powerful, because even though I don't have the Fortress buff anymore, I'm somehow sitting in damage between old Fortress buff and new Fortress buff being topped up by this additional anomaly power. And then once you actually activate the Fortress buff, it just deals a whole bunch of damage. So that's it for the video, guys. Let me know if you like this kind of in-depth analysis. I do know that there are some fans of the channel that really enjoy this kind of content. Let me know in the comments down below how you're finding your character's power levels to be. I'm especially interested in hearing from Devastators and Tricksters that might have also been experimenting with Fortress, as well as Technomancers, maybe using mines or rockets or, you know, minigun or something like that. Anybody that's been trying out Fortress in the past and now feels that they've been severely gimped in terms of damage, let me know what your findings are in the comments down below. I will still be testing many different builds and everything like that, but I did want to bring this video today because it is something that I see in a lot of the comments of my videos, also all over Reddit, and people have also mentioned it as they were attending the streams in chat. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know, as I said, if there's any future topics that you'd like me to cover or a burning issue that you'd like me to look at. But most importantly, I just want you to have a fantastic morning, a great afternoon, and a super awesome evening wherever you are in the world. And until next video, Fucking cheers.
They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me.